Japan. Japan has the highest debt to GDP ratio of about 250%. America itself has over 100%, about 105% debt to GDP ratio. But in Nigeria here, we have almost the lowest, which is about 6.1% debt to GDP. So borrowing itself is not the problem, but where and when are we borrowing? Do we have enough assets to back this borrowing up? We all saw the depletion that occurred in our foreign reserve, and we thank God now we're above $30 billion now, is increasing. So these are the assets. If the asset of the economy is rising, that's in our foreign reserve, then borrowing is not an issue. Our debt profile is even nothing to write home about, it's still very low. And I would say the government should encourage, should focus more on external debt, not local domestic debt. Because okay, look at the current budget, 2017 budget, of a deficit of 2.356 trillion naira, sorry. And of this amount, 54% of it is to be raised locally. So we are raising about 1.25 trillion naira domestically. So it means, what this means in essence is that federal government is competing head to head with private investors, which will lead to what they call crowding out effects. The same amount of money that private investors should have used to increase investment, government is taking it. And if government takes that, what happens? We have all seen that government is not a good business expert. So why not leave private investors to lead the economy in terms of production of goods and services? Now, what borrowing locally does, the implication, so to speak, is this. Government bonds in recent time has the highest interest ever, which is about 12%. What this means is that it becomes an inducement from savers, from savers to buy bonds instead of saving their funds. And we all know that savings is actually the supply side of loanable funds. That is, it gives banks access to funds that can be given out to investors. But now government is mopping this out of the economy. Federal government is taking it. It means there is low amount of savings. It's more or less like government is discouraging people from saving, encouraging them to buy bonds. Now, if there are no funds for banks to give out, interest rates will increase, and when interest rates increase, we all know the implication. The implication actually is that cost of borrowing increases to private investors, and if that goes up, of course, the investments will surely dwindle. So, in my opinion, I feel what government should focus more is borrowing externally. Fine, they can't do that because of checks and balances between the executive and the legislature. We all know what happened last year when federal government tried to raise a 30 billion bonds. Tried to borrow $30 billion. And then the National Assembly rejected it. So they're actually a bit constrained. So what I think is they should use the political will to talk to the National Assembly, let them see the reasons why they can't continue, the economy cannot continue borrowing domestically, why foreign debt, this external debt should be encouraged. Our debt profile is actually very, very low, and that is also very visible in our current last Euro bond that we raised in the London Stock Exchange. We realized that it was the London stock over 800% oversubscribed. So that's to tell you that some investors out there, they are seeing Nigerians as, okay, this is a viable economy, this is an economy we can put our money, then that should continue. So external debt should be the focus of the federal government now and not the domestic borrowing. Borrowing is good, provided it is not to pay salaries and wages, provided it will be channeled towards production of the necessary infrastructure, because the infrastructure is also what we need as private investors to also thrive business-wise. Because if there are no roads, there are no electricities, there are no things we need to run businesses, then it will still be the versation of, exercise in futility. All right.
So, thank you. Now, Dr. Chizia, you've heard it is not a crime to borrow. It is what we use the money for. But some other people have said that, why don't we try the option of, getting, for our capital projects like rail and road, getting firms, local and foreign, who have the capacity and capabilities to do this. Let them go ahead with the project, give them concession, so that we don't have to borrow all the time. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's certainly an option. I mean, recently the outcry by Minister of Power, Works and Housing, about the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, when the House was saying that you have your public-private partnership agreement on ground, we should, and then he's also asking to put money, on that project, and that was an issue. I think that it's a way to go, and this country has recognized this fact so much, and that's why you have a whole department, infrastructure, concessionary, and so on. That's a whole department with a Director General, running that department. So it's a window which is well recognized in this economy. But what tends to happen more often than not is that sometimes we have these things and we're not being properly utilized. I think I've listened to some of the comments that have been made. I think that the issue with borrowing now today is that we're talking of sustainability, we're talking of utilization. I feel that I get the distinct impression that really it doesn't seem as if it's controlled and organized. And so, we have this recession. We're trying to see how, we want to exit recession. All of us, there's a panic to exit recession. But we seem to, within a diaspora bond, we're doing Euro bond, we're borrowing, we're doing bonds in the local